Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Today, I will be reading from the r/EntitledPeople subreddit, so let's jump into it. Trying to buy a house from the most entitled couple I've ever met. Years ago, we decided to move closer to my parents. The housing choices were slim, but we found a dilapidated house close by. It looked like it needed lots of work and seemed overpriced for the area, about $200K. We organized a viewing to decide on it, and brought my very practical dad with us for a second opinion. The viewing was conducted by the owners, and from the very beginning, they were off. They'd never sold a house before, we were the first people to view it, and they actually said to us during the viewing that they were doing us a favor for offering us their hoarder's paradise of a house at such a great price. We told them we wanted to move closer to my parents, and I think they assumed we were desperate. We got home, had a think, and the next day offered the agent a price below the asking price, which we believe to be suitable for its condition. Hours later, the agent calls us back and says that the owners are going to prey on it for a week, then give us an answer. FYI, this time span is unheard of in my country. An answer is usually given in a day. A week later, they decline our offer, so we offered the agent another $2K. The agent calls back and apologetically tells us that the sellers refused to give us an answer because A, they haven't even started looking for a house yet, and B, the owners believe they can sell it for more than the asking price now, so they will get back to us when they're ready, and we'd have to wait. We rescinded our offer. A month later, we find a house in the same area with a lot less work needed and at only $180K. Our offer, through the same agent, was accepted, and we moved in 4 months later. During this time, the agent calls us and says the entitled sellers have found a house now and would like to offer us their house at the original asking price. We declined. I was interested in the progress of the old house. The sale sign had not moved, so I chatted to the agent. He told me we were the only offer in 6 months, and these people had been an absolute nightmare from the start. They expected the agent to pay for cleaners, to get ready for the viewings, and wouldn't take any advice to help with the sale. Remember, hoarder's house? He also said that they'd recently put a deposit on a house against his advice before selling theirs. So now the old house is going up for auction because they needed the cash. I instantly called my dad. He was looking for a property for my sister and had already seen the house. He was interested. So off we popped to the auction house on the day and bid for it. The owners were in the room but hadn't noticed us. When the hammer went down, Dad owned the house for $110K. He signed off the sale and paid the deposit just as the previous owners came to the office. Their faces were a picture. I gave them a shit-eating grin and left. An entitled people, petty revenge, and choosing beggar story all in one. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Very satisfying indeed. You know what they say, good things come to those who wait. Unless what you're waiting for is greed, then you get karma instead. Just kidding, I just made that up. Try to steal my apartment from under me? Lol. Okay, so back in the mid-90s, I was a single guy in my late 20s. I was a man-child, I admit. I was working, but just enough to pay rent and go drinking every night. I have since gotten married, and kids, and a house, yada yada. Anyway, there were these two ladies my age at the bar where I was a regular at that just had their roommate move out abruptly. I was looking to move to something cheaper, and this place was a unicorn. $350 a month for a 3-bedroom place. Close to everything. It wasn't the greatest place, but far from horrible. That's $350 divided 3 ways. Plus the heat and electric were paid for by the doctor's office below us. I was paying that alone, plus utilities, so hell yeah, I moved in. So day one, and the ladies have me sign the lease. I knew it was kind of bullshit right away, as they had a copy of the lease with the old roommate's name whited out and had me sign it. I was never to contact the landlord myself. Sus? Sure, but whatever. Here's $200 for deposit and first month rent. The ladies were a bit quirky. They were lazy. Sure, they were fun and all, but they seemed to think that they owned me. They'd ask me where I have been, who I was dating, why didn't I get in until 6 a.m. I worked swing shift. Lots of little things, like being on AOL Instant Messenger, no cells at this point, all day and night, tying up the phone lines, leaving garbage and other crap in the common areas, dirty dishes, etc. I actually didn't really care, except they would have the nerve to scold me for leaving my shoes or coat or whatever in the midst of their mess. I made a point of never leaving my stuff out, but occasionally I would, and they would mention it. Plus, a cousin of the one roommate stayed there 2 to 5 times a week, which again was annoying, but whatever. Rent was cheap, and I barely saw them. The best part was they would leave passive-aggressive notes, like, "Hey, please don't leave your shoes out by the couch. I almost tripped on them this morning." There was clutter everywhere, and they'd be complaining about my shoes. They'd have weeks worth of dishes everywhere, and my shoes were the problem. Okay, whatever. I could write a book about the crazy, but let's move on. It got really bad when I met the person that became my wife. They were a bit jealous, and regularly tried to break us up. She called one morning, the ring woke me up, and the ladies answered the phone saying that I never came home last night after meeting some girl at the bar. I called later and she told me this, laughing the whole time. She knew it was bullshit, since she dropped me off for the night shift the night before. There were a lot of similar stories like this, but on to the main story. The lease was up in a month, and they decided to get another apartment, and I would have to move out. I asked if I could just take over the rent, and they said that the landlord already leased it to someone else. Okay, sure. So, I finally called the landlord myself. She tells me that she only knew I was living there because she got my check every month. I made them out to cash, and the roommates were too lazy to cash the check beforehand. She said that no, she has not leased out the apartment, and hadn't gotten any notice from the ladies that they were moving out yet. But the one cousin that stayed over often was wanting to sign. It was obvious to me that the landlord did not like these women, so I asked if I could have it first. Furthermore, they were trying to steal the lease from under me and give it to the cousin. I asked and received a letter from her giving me first dibs on the apartment. A couple days later, I come home from my shift, and there is an opened mail on the table to me from the landlord with the first dibs letter sitting there. They opened my mail, along with a bitter 3-page note about how I could do this to them, why did I contact the landlord, I am a horrible person, etc. I laughed and read it to my now girlfriend and future wife. She laughed along with me. The next few weeks were cold, one-word answers to questions, no mention of the note or moving out. They did give notice, and I promptly signed a real lease with only my name on it and paid 3 months up front just because I could. A few weeks later, I come home to find 3 bags of garbage and 2 empty bedrooms. They were gone. I had a 3-bedroom apartment to myself for $350 a month. Oh, the after parties we had. I lived there for 2 more years, one as a married man with a kid on the way. We sadly had to get a better place, and I had to give up my unicorn apartment. But I'll never forget screwing over them before they could do it to me. Damn, we are getting some satisfying stories this week. Is it Justice Week and nobody told me? I'm here for it. I would have been extra petty and charged them for opening my mail. It's a felony, you know. Adios. It's Justice Week, bitches. But anyways, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed these 2 entitled people stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!